People love asking this question. Can I live well in Colombia with $2,000? The short answer is yes, but it really depends where you are and how you live your life. Colombia can be very affordable, but it can also get expensive quickly if you try to live like a tourist instead of a resident. So let me break down what $2,000 can realistically get you in Colombia. The most expensive by far is housing. With a $2,000 monthly budget, you can afford a comfortable one-bedroom apartment in a good neighborhood in cities like Medellín, Bogotá, or Cali. According to Numbeo, one-bedroom apartment in the city center is around $450 to $700. A one-bedroom apartment outside the city center can go from $300 to $500. But if you choose a furnished apartment in popular neighborhoods like El Poblado in Medellín or Chapinero in Bogotá, prices can jump to between $800 and $1,200. Now, the biggest problem here is finding a place to rent and that you can rent like a local, because when I first got here to Bogotá, the easiest option was just go to Airbnb, find a place and rent it. Well, these prices are much higher, obviously, like in any major city, but the problem is that I could only get a local contract like a resident here in Colombia. When I had my job here, I had a permanent contract, and I had someone, a guarantor or a fiador, how you say it here, who could also sign the contract with me. This means I had to find a person who lives here and has an apartment. So it's not that easy. If you don't have that, you can still rent it locally, but you would have to pay around 3 months rent deposit, put it in a bank account. You can get this money back after you leave the apartment, and the interests are going to be there in the money that you left there as well. So it is a bit trickier, but you can still do it instead of just going straight to Airbnb, which is the best option. I mean, it's the easiest option, but it's also more expensive. Utilities in Colombia are very affordable, especially when compared to North America and Europe. According to Numbeo, electricity, water, and gas for one person is around $40 to $7 a month, high-speed internet between $20 to $35 a month, and a mobile plan with data around $10 to $20 a month. Electricity can go way up high if you're using air conditioning all the time here. As you might know, Bogotá, if you live in Bogotá, you don't need air conditioning. It's usually cold here, especially at night. But if you live in cities on the coast like Santa Marta, Cartagena, Barranquilla, yes, you'd need air conditioning, and your electricity bill could go up to around $100 or even more dollars a month. Medellín, well, I'd love to know your opinion here if you've lived in Medellín, if you need an AC or not. I know some people who live there who don't have an AC. Other people say that it can get pretty hot, especially during the day, so they would need an AC. So, but yeah, it's called the City of Eternal Springs, so that would be tricky. But if you need an AC, especially if you live on the coast where electricity is higher, like the price is higher, you would definitely pay more than $100 a month if you're using AC every day to sleep there. Now, food and groceries. This is where Colombia really shines if you eat locally. From markets and neighborhood stores, fresh fruits and vegetables are around $1 to $2 per kilo. Rice, beans, eggs, and chicken are quite affordable. Monthly groceries, depending on your diet, go between $150 to $250 a month. If you cook at home, eat Colombian food, groceries stay low and fresh. However, imported products change everything. Imported cheese, wine, cereal, or snacks can be 2 to 4 times more expensive. A Western-style grocery basket can push monthly food costs to $300 to $450. Your grocery bill is less about Colombia and more about your habits. Eating out is very accessible on a $2 budget. According to Numbeo, meal at a local restaurant is between $4 to $6. That means the very simple lunch menu, which is called here cuarentazo. But if you go to a mid-range restaurant for 2 people, that would be around $25 to $40. Coffee $1 to $2.50, and beer $1.50 to $2.50. You can eat out several days a week if, again, as I said, you eat the local food, lunch menu, and also those mid-range restaurants, not the Michelin star restaurants that you have in bigger cities like Medellín and Bogotá. However, if you enjoy the nightlife, that's gonna be a bit more expensive because the price for 1 or 2 beers that you pay when you're in a bar is, for example, the price of a 6-pack in a supermarket. And cocktails, fine dining, it gets really expensive. Transportation costs in Colombia are very manageable. I don't have a car myself here in Bogota. I usually take the bus to go to work. Sometimes I get short Uber rides. I don't live very far from work. And I just avoid all the stress of like paying for parking, which is quite expensive around the city. All the service, the management fees that you have to pay yearly. So I avoid having a car here. I've already mentioned that in other videos, how I like to live in places where I don't need to have a car. Cycling is extremely big and popular here in Colombia. You have cycling lanes all over the city. So getting a bike and going around on a bike or on a scooter is also possible. But if you do want to not use public transportation, instead Uber, that's also manageable. And honestly, I think that if you don't live that far from work, it's cheaper than owning a car here. It's also not very expensive to travel domestically here in Colombia. For instance, if you live in Bogota and you want to fly to Medellin, Santa Marta, these flights are usually 35 minutes to up to an hour. You pay less. You can pay less than 70 to 100 US dollars per flight. And if you want to fly like to other countries here, not far from Colombia, like Peru, Ecuador, Panama, the flights are also not that expensive if you book them in advance. Healthcare is one of Colombia's biggest surprises. Healthcare is not that expensive, even if you live in bigger cities. A doctor visit could go between $20 to $40, and a specialist visit between $30 to $60. Basic procedures are far cheaper than in Europe or the US. So many expats here decide to either pay out of pocket every time they need to go to the doctor, or pay for a private health insurance, which can go, it really varies between $50 to $120 a month. But it's important to note that even if you have private health insurance, most of them, you still pay a fee when you go and see a doctor, a specialist, or when you need some kind of quick visit to the doctor. With $2,000 a month, you can live comfortably here in Colombia, but not have like a luxurious life. You can cover rent and utilities, eat well, go out socially, use private healthcare, travel occasionally, and still have some breathing room. But your choices matter more than the country itself. Short-term rentals, Western products, and trying to travel a lot every month, let's say around the country and abroad, will make your monthly expenses go up really quickly. Colombia can absolutely offer a high quality of life with $2,000 a month, but only if you adapt to the local rhythm. The more local your life becomes, the further your money goes. And like anywhere else, it's not just about what things cost, it's about how you choose to live. Colombia rewards flexibility, patience, and simplicity. And for the right kind of person, that trade-off is worth it. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.